think I gave you.
Good evening.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
I think we have sound.
Is everything working like it's supposed to?
I hope so.
I hope everybody's got the same weather we got. Man, it
Yep.
is absolutely beautiful here today. 70 degrees. I think it's mid 70s today and sunny.
Yeah, it's
It's still
73.
73. Yep. It's a nice day today in Ohio.
Beautiful day. And then we're
Now
supposed to
tomorrow,
get thunderstorms and then 50 tomorrow. So,
well, I think 46 tomorrow, so heck of a temperature swing.
Yep.
Oh, well. That's what we say in Ohio. If you don't like the weather, just hang around for another 24 hours.
yep. Sometimes it's just 6.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes an hour.
Yep.
At the campground, it'll turn in an hour.
Yep.
So, all right. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the features of the Ram Air 5 heads, and then talk about the platform and the structure of that head, and explain to people. You know, a lot of guys they get all giggly and get that queasy feeling in their stomach when they see those heads because they're so cool and rare. But the thing of it is just because they're cool and they're part of Pontiac's history doesn't mean it's any different for making horsepower than any other cylinder head. Although my Ram Air 5 heads, I did pump them up. I tell everybody I put them on steroids. So, but the factory head actually flowed pretty good. I mean, from the Ram Air 5 heads that I've had and I've done in the shop, I've done probably, I don't know, 15, 20 Ram Air 5 engines over the years I've been in business with factory heads. And the ones that I've had on my flow bench with a stock valve job flow right around 320 CFM, and which is pretty damn good for a factory head. And then with a good competition valve job, I've seen them flow as much as 346, 347, right in there. So almost a 350 CFM head from the factory, which is pretty darn good. And that's with the airfoil around the pushrod tube. And my heads, as cast the way that I did them, they flow roughly, we'll say 400 CFM. I tell everybody 380 because if you're building a street engine and you're running around 600 inches of lift, the head flows right around 380 at 600, which is pretty damn good too. So, anyways, that being said, the head is a good starting point. It right out of the box, you don't have to port them. Maybe do a little bowl cleanup and shape the pushrod tube a little bit because I cast it into my head, and I've already got the wing in it. But as cast, the head, and and we're going to go over all this tonight. So um, don't take these numbers out of context. The as cast head is capable of 800 horsepower on pump gas, even if you have all the matching components. And I've got my hecklers out there. They're going to say, "Oh, that ain't possible," and that's okay. You can believe what you want. I don't care. I know what they're capable of. I've seen it myself firsthand. So, and anybody knows me knows I'm not a bullshitter. So, but the cool part about the Ram Air 5 head is the divorced exhaust ports. So you get rid of that heat in the center of the head, like the factory D port and round port heads, which is really makes it nice for head gasket seal and retaining a head gasket. And the other thing is too is that I made because I designed the head, I made the deck of the head really thick. You can literally mill a half inch off of my head and still have enough material left to do to seal a head gasket. I don't know anybody who has done that or would do that, that would, because the chambers are already 88 cc's when we get done CNCing the chamber on them. And for every 5 thousandths you take off is a cc. So, you know, if you took 100 thousandths off, that would be what?
100 cc.
No, every half thou.
Oh, every half thousand
is 1
cc.
cc.
So 100 thou would be
So about that's
20
almost
cc.
Is that 100,000? So now I'm confusing myself here.
0.005.
So for every
0.01.
30 thousandths is 6 cc's. Okay, so 6 cc's divided in, or 30 divided into 100. I'm making this math easy. Would be 18 and 2 or 3 left over. So roughly about 20 cc's you would take off the chamber. So you would go from 88 to somewhere around mid to high 60s. So, you know, for most applications, you don't need to mill a lot off the head to get it. Now, some guys may want a 40 cc chamber, and then you'd have to take quite a bit off of it. You'd try to take probably up to 250 thousandths off of it, but there's plenty of room to do that. And I designed that head, you know, my head for that capability. I want this thing for the guys that really want to push the envelope and max these things out, you got the room to do that. The other cool part about the Ram Air 5 head is, because the push rod is in the middle of the port, which a lot of guys will say, oh, that affects the horsepower, and we really haven't been able to test that, so I can't say that we've seen it or not seen it. My theory is that it doesn't matter if that is in the center of the port or not. You still have to move air through that port. If you have the cross-sectional area, then what difference does it make if it has that in the center of the port? Maybe it would cause a little bit of disruption in the air fuel together, but airflow-wise, it's not going to hurt anything. It's, yeah, of course they are. We got an emergency. Your house ain't on fire, is it? So, good.
Well, but also though, your cylinder head has the, as I call it, the tail going down through the port still to help with, so the air doesn't collapse back on itself.
Yeah, so what he's talking about is we actually put a wing, I call it a wing in there. And we have one, or vane, whichever way you want to look at it, but it's a vane port on the port roof and on the port floor. And basically what that does is it keeps the air split all the way to the valve. And I've had a couple guys call it the split port, and we call it that too. And and the reason I done that was because I wanted to increase the airspeed of the port so that the torque was up. And we're going to have Evan Perkins on next week. I wanted to have him on tonight, but he just dynoed his engine. And some of you guys have seen the dyno results. I need to get him to post that on my timeline on Facebook, but I don't know if Evan's watching tonight. Maybe he can do that for us. But the torque line on that engine was phenomenal. It was flat as a table. I mean, if you guys can see the graph somewhere, it's incredible. It makes over 500 foot-pounds of torque from the beginning of the pull to the end of the pull, which that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And with the factory heads, they do that a little bit too, but they're not quite, they don't have the velocity, so the torque suffers a little bit with those. But,
now, when did the torque pick up on that? What RPM?
I don't remember. I think he spun it to 6,800. I don't know what he began to pull at. I don't think the dyno would hold it below 3,500 RPM, and that's why we need to have Evan on for next week. We need to generate some questions, put them on paper, so when we talk to him, hopefully we can get a Zoom meeting with him, and we can discuss all that with him. But his engine is a pretty cool pump gas build, 461 cubic inches, basically a 400 stroker that he built, and he built the whole engine himself. He bought the heads from us. They did the valve job. They did everything to them. I mean, basically, maybe we might have done the valve job. I don't recall, but there's no porting done to the heads. Just a minor bowl cleanup, and we reshaped the push rod tube so that it wasn't square. Because when I machine my heads or have my heads machined, that push rod tube is flat on the front side of it, and it needs to be rounded a little bit.
Now, do you think that if you made it like a teardrop, would that make a difference, or just knock the edge off?
Well, it is kind of like that because the back side of it is a teardrop. You know, it goes to a point.
Right, but I'm saying though, like, because like you said, whenever you get your machine on the exhaust or the intake flange, it's flat.
Right.
And so do you want to make that a point, or do you want that to have a face still a little bit and just round the edges a little bit?
Well, I haven't got to do any dyno testing with that, so that I don't really honestly know yet. We'll find out.
Because your intake, is he using your intake?
Yeah.
Or did he have one built?
No, he's got the cast.
Okay. So your intake is almost the same way. It matches on the reverse side.
Yeah, exactly. I put the vanes in the ports
Right.
on it too. So yeah, to help divide it around.
So I mean, I guess it wouldn't really matter then, because it's going to be, you're talking 1/16 of an inch gap from the gasket.
Yeah, 60 thou. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, so I don't know. We're gonna have to, whenever we get our engine dyno up and running, we'll test stuff like that. I want to see what that does. Because
yes, bull nose. You are absolutely right, John.
well, we bull-nosed it and we knife edged it. We've done it both ways, but I don't know if it either way is better or not. I haven't tried it.
I also too, like I have a question about, so to me, in my mind, Pontiac came out with the Raymer 5 head because it was developed as a race head. It was like their secret racing formula head.
Right.
And then the more popular Raymer 4 head was out, and that was more for like a street strip combo. Guys were using it for, because they were a little bit better performing head than your normal.
Yeah, that was like Pontiac's production line high performance.
Yeah. So
kind of like a Chevy LS6 square head or square port,
right,
rectangular port,
yeah,
or an L88, or
which
whatever.
they use in NASCAR.
Yeah, right.
Basically. So I think that's what you're kind of doing now with your new heads. So you got your race platform. So I mean, to me, because your Raymer 5 head is it's cool. Don't get me wrong. It flows very well. But I think that's like for like the real diehard guys. Like, I mean, to me, I think the better bang for my buck would be to get a set of Raymer 4 round port heads. And
well, it all depends on what you're after. Yeah, so you're right. If you're wanting something that's like almost a direct bolt-on type deal, it definitely is a way better bang for your buck, because you're not having to buy different headers if you already have headers. You don't have to buy an intake if you already got an intake. You don't have to buy a cam if you already have a good cam. Where the Raymer 5 head, obviously the camshafts are different, the headers are different, the intake's different, everything's different on them. And but the thing of it is with the Raymer 5 head is you have so much more real estate to work with. It already begins with a big port.
right.
And then you have a lot more real estate there. I put a lot of material around that port so you can port them. And hence that's why we got that race port. And if you want to build, if you want to make, 1,200 horsepower with a Pontiac engine, normally aspirated, the Raymer 5 head makes it a little easier to do than like the Raymer 4 head.
Right. And that's all good stuff. But what I mean though is like for a weekend warrior guy like me, I'm not looking to spend, that kind of money unless I'm going to go racing a lot. Because honestly, if you have 1,200 horse on the street, that's cool as hell. Don't get me wrong.
Well, you're not going to run down the street.
But you're not. Well, right. And you're never, I mean,
well,
I know
I shouldn't say that if Vince Rash is watching tonight, he's going to.
Well, and there's a lot of guys that do. I mean, but like around where we live, there's nowhere for you to actually use all that.
Well,
not anymore.
Yeah, you can't even hardly use 600 horsepower on the street.
So I mean,
But that isn't the whole idea of the Ram Air 5
no,
head
it's
anyway,
not. But the Ram Air 5 head to me though, like not trying to put it down, but what I'm saying though is, I think that if you want to make big horsepower, you go with that head. If you want to make 650 horsepower, you'd go with your new head.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You know, or if you just want that cool factor, you know, a lot of guys want that cool factor.
Oh, well, I mean,
You know, it's real, as we'll see, as you've seen with Evan Perkins' engine, it's real easy to make 650 plus horsepower with that head as cast.
right,
You know, where if you do that with a like an Edelbrock head, you have to have them ported.
right.
So now is the dollar value there anymore? It's not really,
No.
because you're going to spend $3,500 for a set of heads. You're going to spend another, you know, I don't know, maybe $2,000 with porting and valve jobbing them and putting better components in the heads. So now you're right where the Ram Air 5 head is.
Right.
So, you know, it's not really a savings, and you still only have about a 340 or 50 CFM head as opposed to 400 CFM as cast.
Right.
So,
No, and that's all. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that's all great stuff. But what I'm saying though is, with your new cylinder head, I think what you did is you're competing against yourself now, because Edelbrock's completely out of the picture. You're competing with yourself because you've made two
killer heads.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, that new Ram Air 4 head and Ram Air 3 head is going to be kick ass. But that, you know, those are kind of for the guy that wants to pull their Edelbrock head off or pull their factory iron head off and bolt on a head. You know
Right.
what I mean, that's what that head's for. And with matching components, I designed a head so that, you know, I'm speculating right now because we don't have anything to do with test with, but should make 600 horsepower, you know, on pump gas.
Easily.
You know, and so if that happens, then Katie bar the door. You're right. I don't have any competition there. So
Right.
you know,
And I mean, like I said, the Ram Air 5 head is awesome. I mean, it's truly the one that you made is a great head. I've been looking at on all the Pontiac forums. I'm not going to mention any names, and I've seen other people with theirs, and even yours looks better, as in they just look more stock appealing or appearing. What's the word I'm looking for? Appearing. Yeah. So like, to me, if I wanted a Ram Air 5 head, there's no doubt about it, I'd be buying a DCI Ram Air 5 head. But you know, your new head, I'm really excited about the new head.
I know you are.
Well, because I mean, honestly, that's already flowing as cast more than Edelbrock.
Yep.
And you do a little port work.
Yeah, we'll see where they go. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, those heads. I'm hoping that you know, that's like watching paint dry. And I got a lot of guys. I'm sorry, guys. We're waiting. The things haven't lined up yet, and we haven't been able to get those things completed. But nobody wants those done worse than me. Trust me on that. I've been working on that project now since 2019, and it's 2025 now. So, and when I first started that project, COVID wasn't around, and supposedly it was going to take about 5 months to 6 months to complete that project. And I figured, okay, maybe a year and a half, because I know how everything goes. And it turned into 5-6 years now. And it's, so, you know, I'm hoping I get it done before I retire. So I'm going to be 64 this year. I can't believe it. But, you know, and I'm going to keep going for a while. Don't get me wrong. Don't think I'm quitting. But the thing of it is, man, it took way longer than I thought on that.
Perry wants to know, and sorry, Perry, I did see your question earlier. We just got off on a tangent, but your Ram Air 5 heads on a 535 cubic inch needs what kind of compression to make 900 horse?
You would only need to, I don't know if Jude Schnabel's on tonight or not, but I want to get him on the show too. And my son and I are actually going to be in his shop his dyno shop here probably in the next couple of weeks because we're going to be doing another customer's Ram Air 5 there, Joe Bass, and I think Joe watches the show too. But anyway, Jude Schnabel has a 535 all aluminum engine, and correct me, Judes, if if I have some things wrong here, but the cam it's okay. It's way bigger than what Evan Perkins had. It's 272, 288 at 50, but it's I think 11.5 to 1 compression because he runs it on pump gas, and he's got my sheet metal tunnel ram that I built on it, and 2 Dominators, and so far, I think he's made 950 horsepower, and he really thinks the next time he goes to the dyno with that engine is going to make 1,000 horsepower on pump gas. And so that hopefully answers your question. 11.5 to 1 with the right camshaft intake and carburetors and right size tube header, 900 plus horsepower is doable on pump gas.
Old School Twist said, okay, damn it. My bro wanted a motor like my 461 for his GTO. So I designed him one and started off loading my Ram Air 4 stuff to get ready for the upgrade. Even picked out the cam in your 428 post, and now you're arguing which way to go.
That's my son for you. He's in love with them new heads. And I don't blame him. They are cool. A factory appearing head that flows 320 plus CFM, that's pretty cool. But, yeah, so, that... the Ram Air 5, in my opinion, is the cream of the crop. That's the head. If you really don't want to be limited for a Pontiac engine, you want to keep building horsepower and keep advancing every year, Ram Air 5 hands down is the head to go with. It's way more robust than the other heads. The problem with the other head is the Ram Air 4s and Ram Air 3. I made the deck as thick as I could on those heads, but when you don't raise the intake and exhaust ports up like I did on the Ram Air 5, you can't make the deck very thick. I mean, There's just no room. There's not enough real estate there to do everything that I wanted to do. I did improve the deck way over factory head, but it's nowhere near as robust as the Ram Air 5 heads. So if you want a head that's going to hold up to like turbos or blowers, nitrous, that kind of thing, in my opinion, the Ram Air 5 is the only way to go. But if you're looking for something that you want to put on the street and drag race once in a while, and even build a nice bracket engine with the new heads, I mean, they're I don't want to say comparable to an Edelbrock because I think they're better, but the Edelbrock head's proven itself, so that's a good head.
Phil Thursday, you don't have to oversell me. And Old School Twist said the 224 230 cam was for the Brothers motor.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that you probably see my video I just played today with the 428 with the 224 230, and very mild cam. To me, that's a stock cam. I mean, I know guys freak out whenever they hear that you got 224 230 at 50 and 500 inches or 500 thousandths of an inch lift. I keep saying 500 inches, but 500 thousandths of an inch lift. That's a baby cam. That camshaft, I would put that in my grandma's car. So, but yeah, that's a very, very mild camshaft.
Even Philip III's wife said they look good at the cruisins too.
There you go. Especially if Phil's wife talks him into getting one of them Fiat Topolinos or Topolinos. I don't even know how they say that name, but that's a cool little car. You know what those are?
No.
It's what they used to drag race back in the day was gassers, and some of them are Aldards. Crazy looking car, but it's got a rounded nose on it, and it's a real small car. It's probably as big as this table we got sitting in front of us. And if you build one of those, it's going to be lightweight, probably under 2,000 pounds, and with even with 650 horsepower, whew,
right?
It'd be a rocket ship.
Doing an old fuel altered look.
Mm-hmm. That would be so cool with a blower on it or stack injection. Tunnel ram would be cool too.
Yeah.
old school tunnel ram. And you know what? My son's got the capability now that we can. We hooked up with a foundry that we can do one-off intake manifolds with, so we can design and cast an intake.
Yep, which I'm working on, kind of a throttle body style, almost like what Ed Page has on his the Raven, but it's already all built in. But you can replace the top a lot easier.
Okay.
So,
Well, what Ed Page did, which was really cool, he took my intake base for the Ram Air 5,
right, and he made an adapter.
made an adapter for the Holly
Right,
BFI top.
right.
Ed faces it towards the back, towards the firewall, because of the way his ductwork works for his turbo. But we could make that easily so it faces the front and give your Pontiac engine a way more modern look.
Right.
You know, and you could have twin tubes coming off of it, going out to the headlight area, so you got ram air.
Well, what I was thinking is putting the fuel injectors in like how we want them, and then having just a throttle body like a Corvette.
Well, I'm not following you. Maybe I'm not thinking like you. What are you talking about?
Just a big throttle body, just one single throttle body on the front, and then it'll go up, and then it like the Holly does,
Yeah.
and go in. So, and then have the fuel injectors in the runners.
Okay. So kind of like what Ed Page is doing.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we can test it out, and then if we get some traction with it, and I made it for the Rammer forehead.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Yeah, we're going to have intakes for that Ram Air 4 and Ram Air 3 head.
And I mean, if we get enough traction on it, I mean, the Rammer 5 head, I'll take the factory bolt pattern to make it.
Well, the Ram Air 5, so that's something too that I wanted to talk about tonight. I'm glad you're talking about intakes. Evan used my cast base to do his dyno testing with, and it works really good because he's going to put it in a 70 GTO and he wants it to fit under the factory hood. And my cast intake, I designed it to fit under a factory hood. Only problem with that is it's not optimum for making horsepower. So that limits you a little bit. Honestly, I think that if we didn't do anything else to Evan Perkins' engine except for make an intake that is optimum for that engine, it would probably make 750 horsepower real easy. Well, I know it would, as a matter of fact, because my test mule was a 455 stock bore, stock stroke, and I didn't dyno test it. Good friend of mine, Jim Robertson, did it.
Hey, Jamie.
And it,
Can you hit the button, please?
that engine, that was our test mule, the first engine we ever built with my Ram Air 5 heads, and as cast, Ram Air 5 DCI head, and I thought I had 11.5 to 1 compression, which I did not. It was only 10.3 to 1 compression. And the cam was 250, 259 at 50 with a 109 lobe separation. Did have a lot of lift. I was like 780 thousandths lift. But it, like I said, it was a low compression engine. And with the a 2-inch riser underneath the top plate on my intake manifold and a 1050 Dominator and a crank trigger. And a crank trigger's worth 22 horsepower, guys. We know that for a fact because we dyno tested it on that engine, and that's what it made. And so anyhow, that engine made 750 horsepower. And then one time, what happened was poor Jim got a nasty storm. He's down in Texas, and they got a nasty storm down there, thunderstorm, and it took out all the electronics in the shop. So we didn't get to do any more testing, but right before the end, when we were doing a little bit of testing, he changed carburetors and went to a different, I don't know if it was an 1150 or tricked out 1050, and made 770 horsepower with that engine. And that was with pump gas. That was 93 octane. He bought at the local gas station.
And he's the one that said that this thing gets great gas mileage.
Well, it didn't use much fuel. The Ram Air 5 heads are very, very fuel efficient. And that's because of the intake port design. So,
John Monin says he is designing an intake that like that too, that you can bolt a Holly top to.
Yep, perfect.
And then Old School Twist says, yes, I did see that but I thought that cam was perfect for the way he's going to drive the car.
So that maybe I'm not following him. Is that really your brother that I did that engine for? Maybe maybe I missed something here, because we just the guy's name is Kurt Vingy. I don't know if I don't know what Old School Twist's last name is. I think we do, because we sent his son a T-shirt, but I don't remember what it was. I don't think it was Vinci.
No, but well, I think he's comparing your build to his build.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. And then John Dorbush says Weber flange. Yes, I already made an intake with the Weber flange.
Is that on your camera? Yeah, there you go.
So that one there.
So that could be used as a is it IDA or IDF carburetors? I don't know. Which ones are bigger ones?
The
IDAs.
I think it's the IDA, yes.
Yeah, so this is designed for the IDA carburetor, but it also could be used for fuel injection. My son put the bungs in there for fuel injectors too. So that could be multi-use. And we tried to straighten the runners out as much as possible to help airflow through that port.
Yep. And as you can see, it sticks up a little bit past the tall valve cover that I have on there. But
a little bit higher than the HEI distributor too, just a smidge.
Yep.
I mean, it's almost even actually.
We talked about lowering it back down a little bit. But that's the height of a Victor. Is it the Victor or Victor Edelbrock Pontiac intake? The one with the bigger one?
I think it's going to be a little bit higher, but with the air cleaner on it, it's going to be like with the carburetors on it, it'll be the same height as what the air cleaner top is.
Should be,
Yeah,
yes.
pretty close.
Yeah.
So it should fit under the hood of most vehicles. The only thing it may not fit under the hood of would be like a 70 to 81 Firebird or Formula, something like that. I can't believe it's probably because they wanted the drag coefficient so good on those Firebirds that they must have really dropped the nose on those cars, because they are the worst Pontiac out of the whole bunch of them that we build cars or engines for.
Yep. And so with this version of the intake, the injector hole, bung hole,
Oh boy.
the bung hole, if we do go to make these, I'm going to make a version with the bung hole will be closed, and then we can machine them out. So if you don't want to go with the fuel injection, you want to go with the carburetor, then you can.
Yeah, the boss will be there, it just won't be drilled.
Yeah.
And won't have. Well, we could drill the hole for the hold down bracket, but don't have to drill the holes for the injector.
Correct.
Yeah, so that could be used either way. So those will be, and Kevin Dunn's got a cool setup too.
Yeah, Kevin Dunn has a cool setup as well. Yep.
He's done he did the Weber IDAs or IDFs. I don't remember now.
He
His
has
is
the
probably
IDAs.
a little bit lower than
Yeah,
ours.
his
Yeah,
is,
his
yep.
got more hood clearance.
Yep.
He tried to keep it low profile so he can keep it under the hood.
Perry says Glass Tech has 2-inch raised hoods.
Yep. As a matter of fact, we used one of those hoods on a 70 GTO build we did. I don't know if some of you guys seen it on YouTube or not, but it was a pepper green 70 GTO that we put a Ram Air 5 in. And we didn't have to, but we ended up using a 2-inch raised fiberglass hood, and we took the steel structure out of a factory hood and grafted it to the bottom of that fiberglass. And we had to section it and stretch it and make it so that it raised up in the center as well. But we also did another one for a guy over in Illinois, and Larry Yates. I don't know if he's on tonight or not. I know he watches the show once in a while. But his hood's all factory original, and we put the Ram Air on his with a Ram Air 5, and it fit fine. So,
John Dorbush says, do a cross ram configuration like the manifold they have for the small block Chevy. I did think about doing that. That would be kind of cool.
Well, you know what though, if we did anything, we would do the Smoky unit cross ram.
Oh, okay. I know which one you're talking about.
Yep, it's basically a cross ram, but it's got a top plate on
Yep.
it. And what we would do is put two carburetors on it, like Chrysler, or I think Smoky did too.
I was going to say I think he did.
Yeah.
2 tube barrels.
That would be cool for the Ram Air 4 deal.
And then John Mon asked, did anyone make a carbon fiber GTO or Le Mans hood?
I don't. There probably are companies out there, but because it's such a high priced item, I mean, I don't know what a carbon fiber hood costs now. You know what, guys? I was
It
blown
depends.
away.
It depends.
I think it's, if you're using quality parts and you have a quality manufacturer and they're doing the vacuuming like they're supposed to do and everything's done the way it's supposed to be done and use thick material so that the thing has got the strength that it's supposed to have, it's probably going to be $5,000 to $7,000 for a hood. And so, I mean, is it worth it for the extra probably 10 pounds you're going to save over a fiberglass? I don't know. That's your call. Me personally, I would, unless you want that look, because unpainted they are cool looking. I gotta admit, I love the look of them. But to just do a hood. Now, if you're doing a whole car, you can save quite a bit. You can save probably over fiberglass another 100 pounds over the whole car, which is pretty substantial. But where was I going? Billet cranks. Man, I just got a quote for a billet crank, and they literally 2.5 times more than what they were just 3 years ago. So get ready, guys. Those the parts the prices are up right now, and that was not because of tariffs. They specifically told me that it is not because of the tariffs. It's just the cost of everything now. Steel had already went up without the tariff, and the labor and all that goes into it. The price is literally 2.5 times what it was just 3 years ago.
John Dornbush says Castle Motorworks already has one. 413 wedge style.
Yeah, his is cool. That is cool. The carburetor, he's got the side draft Webers on it.
Yep.
Yeah, that looks cool.
It does look cool.
But if we were going to do one, I'd do the Smoky Unit one. Kind of like the cross frame they put on the Crossfire Camaros and Corvettes back in the early 80s.
Yeah. Phil III says he doesn't need a billet crank.
Yeah. Billet cranks are outrageous right now.
So, does Steve Morris make his own cranks?
No.
Okay.
No, he hasn't made. The only thing he makes his own blocks and he makes his own.
Well,
and intake.
Does he make his own blocks? Because Dart makes his one of his blocks for him.
Well, no, he bought a Dart block. He actually makes his billet blocks in house.
No, his one YouTube, he said Dart and him partnered up, and Dart makes one of his small blocks.
Maybe a small block, but I don't think his SMS engine.
I don't know about that, but because he said that, because it says Dart and then it says Steve Morris Racing Engines.
Well, it could be, and you know what? That would be smart on Dart's part. To hook up with him, they can sell more product that way.
Perry says, haven't seen a carbon fiber hood as of yet. And Old School Twist says, what intake you recommend for the 9-1 461 with 9-to-1 with a 461 cubic inch with 290 CFM heads and that 224 230 cam? As said in previous shows, my performers and torquers are only good for beer cans.
Yeah, the early torquer and the performer, I wouldn't put a performer on my lawnmower engine. It literally is worse than the factory intake manifold. And so I would definitely not use that intake. And there's a ton of those out there too.
Well, that's because they market them as like $300-something.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's the price or people just don't know what they don't know, and they buy the intake thing and it's better because it's aluminum than a factory intake. But if you look at the thing, the runners are only that wide and the factory that wide.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, for that engine, probably what I would run on that would be the Performer RPM intake or a factory cast iron intake.
John Dorbush says that Castle has with Weber's and it's $6,000 plus.
Which isn't a bad price because I just priced the Weber carburetors. I don't know what the side draft ones cost, but I do know what the IDFs and the IDAs are, and they're if you buy the Italy ones, not the Chinese knockoff ones, they're about $850 a piece, plus the tariff or shipping and all that stuff that goes into it. So you're looking at what? $3,400 just in carburetors.
Yep.
That doesn't include linkage, and fuel lines, and air bonnets, and all the things that go with it. So
Yep.
if he's able to do that for $6,000, that's pretty damn cheap.
Well, he's also using that one. I'm going to have to go back and look at his website because he uses an aftermarket throttle body. And then the carburetors, I don't know what he's using for carburetors. I know the Weber's, but he actually has been promoting the aftermarket throttle body.
Well, I mean,
And their billet.
Is he doing like fuel injection then? He must.
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you're doing fuel injection, you know what? I actually ordered one of the Chinese throttle bodies for this deal that my son's working on. And, I mean, you know what? For as cheap as you can purchase those for, the things that are wrong with them, you can fix. They're like all Chinese parts. Whenever I pulled it out, the throttle plates are really thin, so you need to replace those, or they're gonna bend. They didn't line up. They didn't fit the bore real well. I mean, I went over that thing with a fine tooth comb, and I found probably 20 things that we'd have to fix on them. But
The major thing was it didn't fit the intake.
Well, yeah, because I got sent the wrong ones. I ordered IDAs or whichever one we're supposed to have, and
you got the IDF.
They sent me the wrong one.
Yeah.
But anyways, while I had it, I looked all that over, and really, the casting was good, the throttle shaft was good,
Yeah.
but everything else we needed to fix.
Well, yeah.
But you know what? It's still cheaper than doing it yourself. Machine and all that are.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Perry says, "Get your goddamn mouth close to your mic."
You guys can't hear me. I'm sorry.
And I got you turned all the way up.
Well, you know what? I feel like I'm leaning in. I feel like that's an aggressive posture. Here,
I got one boon and we just need to find another boon. They're like $20 on Amazon. We just need to
clamp it on a table or something. Yep. Yeah, that's probably what we ought to do. Because I just feel like, you know what? I'm in your face.
Well, my back's killing me from building my porch today.
And this thing's in the way too. We need to lower that down a little bit. I don't know.
That's all lower it goes.
That's all
We're
lower
going to. Well, the biggest thing is I need a big screen TV. So if you can buy one of them, we can put it behind the camera.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why am I buying it? You need to buy it and hang it right there. That would be perfect.
No.
Well, so am I.
Everyone's saying get a microphone.
Sorry, guys. Hopefully you can hear me. The other thing is too, I talk loud, so I feel like I'm yelling at you guys too. In the shop, I literally have to. I feel like I'm yelling at my guys at the shop because we have to.
Well, because you
talk
are
so loud. Yeah. Well, sometimes if they need yelled at, I'm yelling at them. Yeah.
I must need yelled at all the time.
You grew up needing yelled at.
I guess so. I'm used to it now, so I just don't care.
My son was all boy. Trust me.
I got yelled at so much it didn't even bother me.
Yep. That's why I love him so much. He's ornery.
Perry says, "Be like Steven Tyler." Yeah, make love to that mic.
Yes, he does.
Mark Timmer says, with the horsepower on that 455, and I have T-tops, should I worry about twisting car in half?
You are definitely going to want to take so you're going to. It's funny you mentioned that, Mark, because Luke, my nephew, he's got a 77 Trans Am with T-tops in it. And last year at the Pontiac Nationals, we're going to have to put traction bars on it for sure because
Which I think you already did.
Not on Mark Timmers.
Oh, I thought you meant Luke's.
Yeah. No, Luke, we put traction bars on because last year what happened at the Pontiac Nationals, he literally turned his leaf spring into an S, and the rear end was sitting up in the car like that, and he broke the one rear leaf spring. So definitely going to have to put traction bars on it for sure. And Luke's now putting subframe connectors in his car because of the T-tops. And we seen issues there. So, yeah, that is a definite must. And you're going to make more torque than Luke did. Your combination is pretty close to the same as Luke, but he's got 406 cubic inches. You got 461 cubic inches. So you're going to make another 50 foot-pounds of torque. And so if Luke's torque's tearing the car up like that, we're definitely going to tear your car.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, good question and good point, and definitely something we will be doing when we get the car there.
Just use those Zeus fasteners for your window T-tops.
I did have a customer, and I don't know if he watches the show or not, but I built a 455 Super Duty for him, and this is years ago. I mean, it was when I was on Canton Road, so that was back. That was
30
back
years
in
ago.
The 80s, yeah, and. And it was a pretty stout 455, but it's still low compression engine. It wasn't high compression, but it had a roller cam in it. And we put I modified the intake and ported the factory Super Duty intake for him. But he put the engine in I think it was a 79 Trans Am with T-tops in it. And on the way home, on the expressway, he jumped on it and it hit passing gear and it blew both T-tops out of the car.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it twisted that hard. And, of course, needless to say, he destroyed both his T-tops and had to get a couple more.
That's where you self-tap screw them in.
Yeah, he should have glued them in.
Salvatore Augusta says, hello, boys. Nice do, Don.
Nice do. Yeah, my hair's getting long, so I had to slick her down a little bit so it'd stay put.
And BNR Racing said, how much are billet cranks now? 10, 12. He said Crower billet Pontiac V8 was 5,500.
Well, the one that I just contacted Scat about, they said starts at $8,000 now. And just 4 years ago, I bought two of them from Scat, and they were one was $3,800 and the other one was $4,300.
Wasn't you having a problem with Scat for a while, though?
No, Scat's good stuff.
Who was the crankshaft?
Well, you got to stay away from Star Galaxy and
Oh, okay.
yeah, there's a couple companies out there. All the forgings come from China, and Scat even admits their forgings come from China. But Scat at least machines their forgings here in the United States, and they X-ray all of them and check them. So Scat, Molnar, Ohio Crankshaft, even Eagle, those are all good cranks. There's nothing wrong with them. But the Star Galaxy, and there's another one, I think it's RPM, and something else. Those cranks I try to stay away from unless I absolutely have to buy one.
John Dornbush says Hotchkiss subframe connectors.
That's what Luke bought.
And BNR Racing said the Dart SMX BBC Steve Morris was a prototype that was finally broke 6 years later. Dart made one more for Steve. Ah, okay. That's what it was. It was just a prototype then.
Got it. Okay. It takes a long time, guys, to develop products. I mean, my Raymer 5 heads, and now Salvador's on here. I'm going to pick on him a little bit.
Yeah.
I love my brother Salvador. Actually, I call him Sammy. But anyway.
I call him King.
What happens is you got so many design changes that you go through, and it just takes a lot of effort to if you just want to move a port 50 thousandths, it sounds like, oh, all you got to do is move a port 50 thousandths, but it isn't that simple, because what it does that I've learned from working with Sam and the AutoCAD deal you know, it makes the model blow up. And then you got to go back in the tree and you got to fix everything and try to get it, you know, so it doesn't blow up. So, you know, that, you know, and because of that, you know, and not only that, people can't read my mind, thank God, especially my wife. So anyway, since Sammy can't read my mind, you know, he can't download data from my brain to his computer and do it the way I'm thinking. So,
well, another issue too with you is we let you go, walk away, and then you start thinking about it, and then you change your mind.
Don't, no. I tell you guys, leave the paper blank so that I can come back and we can make changes.
There's no blank paper when it comes to cash. I'll leave a blank page open.
So, yeah, mom's listening. That's a good thing. I was being good. So, but yeah, so that, with that being said, I get it. It's hard, you know, even for my son. But my son is, you know what? He thinks like his dad. So it's pretty, him and I, he already knows that I'm going to tell him, you know what, son, I don't like it this way. So he's already figured it out.
Yep. So then the heck was that?
Your roof's falling down.
What? I don't even know.
But I also, if I were to show my dad how much different variations of the intake that I made saved, that way I plan for him to change his mind.
Did you hear that, Sammy?
I got probably 50 variations of that one intake.
Well, the thing of it is I'm kind of like that, Picasso. You know, I don't draw out nothing. What I do is I gotta do this. You know, I gotta see it. I want to see what it looks like, and then I change it. It's a work of art.
Well, and that's why I learned that. So now whenever I create something, I go, this is how my dad said he wants it.
Yeah.
Now
you guys
I'm
are
going
buying
to
Picassos. You're not buying cookie cutter.
Well, then I make a whole nother version of it.
Oh, good.
And I make it to go, I think this is what he really wants.
Well, you live with me long enough. You kind of get it.
Yeah.
Poor Sam. I feel bad for him. You know what? He had never lived with me.
Be lucky. Feel lucky, Sam.
I love my brother Sam.
Dakota's timeout just joined. Ed's machine just joined with us.
Welcome aboard, fellas. Yeah, so yeah, you know what? There's a lot goes into designing products, and my son's starting to get my style, and Sam is too. I'll be honest with you. We're doing that new engine block, and Sam's already, because we went through this with the Ram Air 5 head, which he did a hell of a good job with. I mean, I couldn't have done that head without Sam. So anyway, with that being said, Sam kind of now has a cadence for the way I think. And it's not like I'm talking Chinese to him anymore. He kind of figures it out. So, and it's going to make it a lot easier this go around when we do the engine block. At least I hope so.
Yeah.
If I can just get him to focus, does anybody got Adderall I can buy?
Buckle up, Sam.
Poor Sam. I tell you what, he's like a squirrel or a dog. Squirrel or ball.
Yeah.
I love you, brother. I'm just picking on you.
His poor wife has been waiting 4 years to get the kitchen done.
Yeah, I know. You know what? And he did a hell of a good job. Did you see his kitchen?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, man. I tell you what, I was over there. I'm impressed. He did a really good job.
BNR Racing said, what is Pontiac 455 nodular crankshafts good for again? 800 horse.
Oh, I thought he meant boat anchor.
There's your answer.
No, they're actually good cranks. I made 700 horsepower with factory crank, 727, and I ran it for 15 years and never had a problem with it. So they're good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it as long as they're not cracked. The cranks I don't like are the armor steel cranks. Everybody gets all geeked up over those cranks and they think they're better because it says steel. But believe it or not, the nodular iron crank is way better than an armor steel crank. And the armor steel cranks, I've thrown more of those away because they're cracked. than I care to talk about. I got a quick story to tell you guys. I had a customer of mine that bought a armor steel crank from me for $389. And so anyhow, he wanted to bring it back. Now, with used parts, I don't have any guarantee on, and I don't take them back unless I'm feeling nice that day. So anyway, he brings the crank back to me and tells me he wants his money back. And I told him I sold him a crank, and I said, no, I'm not gonna give your money back on a crank. I said, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. If you don't want it, sell it yourself. So next thing I know, I'm getting a letter from Better Business Bureau. And so I have to go in front of a magistrate. And so what happened was he told the magistrate that the crank that he bought from me was cracked. And so I know those crack. And so I told the magistrate, I said, okay, I understand that. And if it is cracked, I will give him his money back. Not a problem. I said, do you have it, can you show me the paperwork for it? So I'm looking at the invoice for the crankshaft getting magnafluxed, and I'm looking at my invoice, and you know what? There's a funny thing. There's dates on both of those, and I'm comparing the dates. And I said, to the magistrate, I said, did you see the date on these? She goes, no, I never paid any attention to that. I said, well, you might want to look at that. Well, it happened to be that he magnafluxed that crank 3 months before he bought it from me. How did that happen? So case closed. I ended up winning that case. But you know what? People try to pull fast ones on you all the time. And that's one of the reasons why I don't take used parts back, because I don't know if you could swapped it out and, trying to rip me off. If I would have taken that crank back and sold it to somebody else in good faith, and it would have broken their engine, maybe they didn't have it magnafluxed, and it would have broke, then you know what? Then I would have felt bad, and I would have looked like the bad guy. So you know what? There's two sides to every story, guys. Remember that. Don't judge anybody until you know all sides of the story.
Let's see here. BNR Racing said, Don, why is Steve Morris using billet aluminum main caps?
I was talking about doing that with my new block. And the reason is because Steve is using billet main cap aluminum caps on his block. But, man, I keep running into a wall with that. Everybody I talk to about that, they are saying don't do that. Now, I do know that the Mopar guys, for a while, on their factory blocks, they were putting aluminum main caps in those blocks. And they claim that, they quit cracking caps and breaking caps with the, and they're cross-bolted.
Yep.
And so, I thought there was some validity in that. But the guys that I've talked to that are, I think, smarter than I am about that stuff, they're all telling me, no, don't do it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I told them, I said, what about forged billet and having a machine?
Can you hit the button again, please?
And they said no aluminum cap, period. I think, honestly, with a forged billet aluminum cap, that we would be fine. And not only that, it would make the line bore so much easier to machine and repair. If you ever spun a main bearing and tore up the block, it would be able to be welded and fixed real easily. So I really want to use a billet main cap, a forged billet main cap on my blocks when we do them. And I probably am going to do it regardless, because even if these experts are telling me no, I've always bucked the experts in the past anyway, and hence the reason why my Ram Air 5 head's the way it is, and the way my Tiger head was, and a lot of things that I've done. So I never follow the herd. I always cut my own path, and I'm probably going to cut my own path on that and see what happens.
BNR Racing said Steve has an all Pontiac aluminum block, made aluminum caps for it, hard anodized black, last episode a few days ago.
I seen that. He's got a Kaufman block there, and probably he didn't want to mention the name, but that's okay. I don't care. And they got the Kaufman Hemi head there too. And I noticed that there were some holes drilled in those main caps, and I don't know why.
I didn't see that. So
Yeah, he just released that video. You know what's cool is right now he's got two Pontiacs in his shop right now, and he's got Vince Rash's Ram Air 5 engine in there that made 1140 or 1180 horsepower, and then he's got the Kaufman engine in there with the Hemi heads. Now I don't know what they're going to do with that engine, or maybe it's their Warp 6 head that's on that. I don't know. I think it is their Warp 6 head. I'm sorry, it's not the Hemi head. My bad. So anyway, they got Steve's got two Pontiacs in the shop right now. I'm hoping he does a video on the Ram Air 5 one.
what material aluminum? 7061 T7.
That I don't know yet. It's going to depend on the what we can find in a forged billet that has the same tensile strength as like a carbon 45 steel. So I got to research that. I really don't know yet.
Gary Andrews asked, what is a quick 550 horse plus motor combo starting with a 400?
Well, you know what? That was going to be this week's topic. I was going to take an engine combo that we build all the time and go over that. So tonight, I don't want to get too deep into it, but that can be done with a decent set of factory iron heads, believe it or not. Factory the heads are going to have to be milled ported quite a bit to make that kind of power and have the right camshaft. Now, so that's another thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about. You know, Evan Perkins' engine is actually pretty damn impressive for the duration of the cam that he's got, and the intake duration is more dictative of what you're going to make for horsepower than the exhaust duration. The exhaust duration does help get rid of the exhaust so that whenever you open the intake valve, you bring in a nice clean charge. The combustion process has been evacuated out of the cylinder, but the intake opening events is way more critical for making horsepower. And obviously, you would need more duration on the intake side to pack more air into the cylinder to make more horsepower. And so with that being said, going back to the question on the 550 cubic inch factory engine or 461 or whatever, the factory heads can do it, but you're going to have to run a lot more duration. I've got several guys that are doing it, and but it takes right around the 250 to 260 duration at 50 thousandths on the intake to get that kind of horsepower out of a factory iron head. Where if you have a better flowing head, you don't need as much duration on the cam because the head's going to do it for you. But, you know, the longer you hold that valve open and trap the air in the combustion process and all that, it's way deeper than what I'm getting into right now. But the longer you hang that valve open, the longer or more time it has to fill the cylinder, and the more horsepower it's going to make. So it can be done, and I've got guys that are doing it. I don't know if Terry Coulter's on tonight or not, but he's got a set of 6X heads and an off-the-shelf Howard's cam that we put in his engine, and he's around a 9-to-1 461, and he put down at the tire, I think it was 460 horsepower, which is roughly right around 550 to 560 at the crank.
Well, it is 7:03, and if you guys have noticed, it's just my dad and I forgot to mention this earlier. We kind of got off on a tangent again, but Jason's not with us tonight. He's out making money. He grinds stumps. He also
He's a
works
stump
with
grinder.
He's a stump grinder, and he's good at it.
Yeah, good for him.
So he was out making money tonight. So I don't blame him for, not wanting to hang out with us. I'd much rather be making money too. So,
Hey.
just saying.
I love you too, son.
So we're missing, we don't have the three amigos with us tonight. That's why I had to call my wife to hit the button. She is the good button pusher. And, but it's 7:03, and, keep those questions coming, or ask them next week if you could, please. And
Yeah,
Well, actually, not next week. Save them for 2 weeks from now, because hopefully we'll have an interview next
Oh,
week.
you know what's going on next week? I got a car show.
yeah.
IX Piston Power.
Yeah, so
show.
next week we won't be.
I will if I can make it happen. But the only thing is, it's going to be all man on deck for getting ready for that show.
Next week is the actual show.
I know. I got to have the car loaded Wednesday.
I know.
So because we're going Thursday to set up. So any of you guys that are local or close enough, the Piston Power Show at the IX Center in Cleveland is a really nice show. And my buddy Steve, I don't say his last name right, so I'm not going to butcher it. But anyhow, he hooked me up this year, and he put me front and center. You walk up the steps, walk into the venue, and I'm right there. So I'm not going to disappoint him. So I want to make sure that I got all my ducks in a row. The car's pretty. My display set up properly, which I need to get my son to make part of the display for me yet. We got a lot to do. So it's going to be catch as catch can next week. I don't know, guys, if we'll be able to do the show. Hopefully we can, because I want to have Evan Perkins on. We're going to do a Zoom with him hopefully next week. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see. If we can get all that crammed in the next week. And the part that you guys don't understand, or don't know, I should say, is that that challenge, we got a 71 Challenger we're doing. And it's not the one we just did, the other one with the Plum Crazy. This is a purple car too, but it's a candy purple. We changed all the glass in the car. We tore the engine all apart externally, and we repainted everything and rebuffed the valve covers, and we had to polish the wheels and take the wheels off and clean them and clean the tire treads, and we repainted the car. It's got a candy paint job on it. It was $40,000. We just had to repaint the whole car. It was fortunately for the customer, the insurance company paid for it because it was $38,000 to repaint the car. It got vandalized is what happened. Actually, it's $41,000. I'm sorry. $41,000 to repaint the car. We polished all the chrome, repainted the tail panel and the grills, and we replaced all the marker lights, blah, 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 blah. Anyhow, the car was totally disassembled, and that was only 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we got to get that thing all back together and ready for the show next week. So, fortunately, we got the glass back in it, and we got a lot of the polish work done. But we're working on the detail underneath the hood right now, and we still got to put the car back together. So we got a lot to do. So, there's only so many hours in a day.
And that show is Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yes, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I will be up there Saturday.
Right.
I can't go Friday. We have to go to a wedding.
That's a bummer because Babcox and Wilcox is going to be there doing an interview with us on Friday.
Good job, Jamie.
So,
well,
yeah.
When are they doing that? In the daytime?
I don't know when they're going to be there, to be honest with you. I can find out, but yeah, we're getting some publicity out of this too. We're going to be in one of the national publications and stuff. So I don't know. We got a lot going on, guys. I mean, you know what? Busy people get things done, and that's where we're at. We get things done. We do a lot. So,
but all right, guys. Well, hopefully we see you next week. If not, come see us at the show, Piston Power Show at the IX Indoor Amusement Park, as I call it, but
Yep.
IX Center.
Yep.
In Cleveland,
Airport.
Ohio.
Yep. All right, guys. Good night.
Good night, everybody.